Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores. New camera, who dis, man? But nah, for real, I really appreciate everybody that donated during the whole draft live streams and all of the videos I was dropping, because a lot of y'all donated literally just for me to upgrade the camera. I finally was able to get that camera, so really appreciate the support from everybody to get me to this point, man. Really appreciate it. I mean, I know y'all looking at that HD like, did Rico get a new camera?
Oh. Yeah.
And I know my intros are really long, but I just wanted to make sure I went ahead and announced. I mean, y'all could probably see it. I mean, I should be looking real crisp right now, you know what I mean? You dig? But also, of course, we're here to talk about minicamp days 1 and 2. I'm gonna have to combine them. We're talking about what happened Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know what happened. It seems like whatever kind of sickness I guess I got spun the block on me. I don't really have any other symptoms except for a sore throat, so I've been trying to avoid talking as much as possible, but I gotta get this video done. So I know it's currently 12 a.m. Eastern time right now while I'm recording this, and then I'm probably gonna try to squeeze in a day 3 analysis as well tomorrow, as in Thursday. But hey, man, I gotta keep working, man. I can't stop. I'll be straight. I got a bunch of hauls over here, you know what I'm saying? No plug. Oh, it's green too, so the green screen took it out, so no plug. They're not sponsoring me, they're not paying me to talk about it, but I got those right next to me, so I should be straight. After I record this video, I'll just go without talking until I record the next video. I'm gonna see if I can get away with it. But either way, again, we're talking about what happened in Washington Commanders 2023 mini camps as of day 1 and day 2, Tuesday and Wednesday, and I will talk about Thursday tomorrow, and of course come with all the clips like I always do. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately, and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the rookie film sessions. I do want to get a live stream going this Sunday. We'll see how that goes. I've just been really busy with a lot of random stuff. If it's not one thing, it's another, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But of course, you already see that I put out the Emmanuel Forbes film session, and I'm planning on doing the entire rookie class and even some undrafted free agents. Again, I'm sorry for the long intros, but let's go ahead and get to it right now, man. Let's get it.
You tell your family you can be a commander.
All right, we're going to start with day 1 and go through every position group that matters. We're starting with the coaches, then we're going quarterback, then we're going offensive line, we're going wide receiver, tight end, defensive line, everything, linebackers, DBs, everything. We're going to go in order for day 1, and then we're going to do the same exact thing for day 2. I want to make sure it's separated so you know what happened on day 1 and what happened day 2. So let's go ahead and start with day 1. We're going to start with coaching, most notably Eric Bieniemy. And I love the influence that he's having. Shouts out to my boy Linnell Willingham on Twitter, man. Make sure y'all go follow him at Nell_BTB, NELL_BTB. Does a lot of great coverage for everything that's going on in practices. Like, he's physically there and everything. Make sure y'all tune into him if you already aren't. Shouts out to him for a lot of the things that I'll talk about today, because we have Zach Selby as a source, who's also like the official writer for the Commanders. We also have Linnell Willingham, and then we have a few others as well. So I just wanted to make sure I shouted them out early, because we're just gonna keep going and going and going. I'm not gonna continue to shout them out with each point that they bring up, but he brought up the fact that out of respect for the player, he's not gonna give out the name that happened, but he said it wasn't a starter. He said Eric Bieniemy just yanked someone out of the huddle for not going hard enough. He said, quote, "Get out of the huddle, ain't wasting no effing reps," and he said the actual cuss word, unquote. Eric Bieniemy fired up and everything, and I love that, man. The expectations that are coming with this team, because Eric Bieniemy is in charge, this is the whole different level. This is all about raising standards, changing the culture, and we're going to talk about that with day 2, because a lot of the players had positive things to say about Eric Bieniemy directly. This is more so like an observation of how Eric Bieniemy is influencing everything, how much smoother and more efficient everything looks just as looking at it. But then later on, towards the end of the video, we're going to talk about the players talking about him when we get to day 2. But either way, man, he's definitely shaking things up. Things are definitely different with Eric Bieniemy as your offensive coordinator / assistant head coach. Now moving on to quarterback, this is where things get a little interesting. On Tuesday, the first day of mandatory mini camps, Howell looked solid for the majority of practice, completing 14 of 24 passes in the 11-on-11s and 7-on-7 blitz drills. Not just normal 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s, but the blitz versions, which is really different. That's a lot for a new offense that's being installed installed, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. That's a lot for anybody to handle at this point in the season. I'm pretty sure even the Chiefs of Pat Mahomes even being caught off guard a little bit just by blitzes in general, let alone already early June. And then it's a new starting quarterback. It's a lot of working pieces in the offensive line, a lot of new starters there. And then again, a new offensive coordinator installing an entirely new offense. So I'm surprised that Sam Howell is already at where he's at right now. Now, he's not already just balling out, looks like a future Hall of Famer. No, of course he doesn't look like that at all, but he's further ahead in his development, most notably his footwork and his accuracy than most people probably expected at this point, probably even more than he expected and Eric Bieniemy and those guys. The only rough spot came around the middle of practice when he was 1 of 5 with an interception. It was an impressive play by Khaleke Hudson, who managed to corral the ball away from the receiver before running down the sideline. And for those who missed Young's energy cheering on his teammates, he was among the loudest of the defensive players cheering on Hudson after the pick. Linnell said that Sam was basically struggling with his accuracy a little bit in 11s on 11s, but when they got the 7 on 7s, his ball placement was incredible. And you kind of expect that. Again, I've said this in several videos, and this is just, I think, common knowledge at this point, but I want to keep reiterating that when it's 7 on 7s, when there's less players on the field, the offense has a strong advantage over the defense. So the less players on the field, less offensive players, less defensive players, the offense is at a strong advantage. So of course he looks better in 7 on 7s than he does 11 on 11s, and we'll get there. We'll work on it over time. Now, offensive line wise, I'm hearing that we're doing a lot of screen plays, has heavy screen game right now, and then Sadiq Charles is really shining in that. He's really showing his athleticism in these screen game plays. I mean, we're going to talk about him again for what happened Wednesday. Again, we're talking about Tuesday right now, day 1 of mandatory mini camps. What happened Wednesday, day 2 of mandatory mini camps, he had a similar play that led to a touchdown. So right now his athleticism is showing. I had Chris Paul winning the starting left guard spot, and even kind of like Nick Gates is like a safe pick there, but it sounds like Sadiq Charles is doing enough so far to keep Chris Paul and everybody else at bay. He's our starting left guard as of today. Will it be that way by the time we get to week 1? I'm not exactly sure. I definitely wouldn't put any money on it, because again, I was rooting for Chris Paul, and then of course if Ricky Strongberg is good enough to start at center, you probably just go ahead and start Nick Gates at left guard. But right now Sadiq Charles has it on lock, and his athleticism is showing. It's never been a problem of talent. It's always been a problem of staying healthy and being able to stay healthy, not only to be, you know, the best ability is availability, but at the same time, he hasn't really been able to develop since we drafted him because he keeps getting hurt. Now he's showing some of the development. He's starting to show that natural athleticism. Again, he was one of the more naturally talented, just God-given ability out of his entire offensive line class when he came out of the draft a few years ago. So that's going to show on plays like screenplays. But what happens when it's time for you to pick up a blitz, when you have to deal with a stunt, when you're going against an interior defensive lineman that exactly knows your weaknesses and knows how to attack it with great technique and counter moves and stuff like that? That's what I need to see from Sadiq Charles. But it's still great to hear positive news from him, especially when it comes to the screen passes. Again, I'm hearing over and over again that the screen game is a huge part of this Commanders offense so far in the offseason. So expect a lot of that, and I'm expecting that Antonio Gibson will be the recipient of most of those, but I'm hearing that Brian Robinson's in on it, of course Curtis Samuel's going to be in on it. You may even see Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin occasionally. Also, Andrew Wiley gained some praise for showing some athleticism on a screen pass as well from the right tackle position. So that's really interesting. We have some movers out there. If we want to run screens, we actually have the offensive line to do it. And I'm not trying to create excuses for Scott Turner, but last year, even when healthy, we did not have an offensive line that was athletic enough to efficiently run the screen game. Now we brought in some guys that can, and I'm really excited about that. Then wide receiver wise, I heard a lot of great things from a lot of people. Zach Selby said that Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, and Zion Bowens, interesting name there, all showed good footwork working on sideline catches today, with all three managing to keep both feet in bounds before securing the catch falling out of bounds. That's great to hear. The usual suspects looked impressive during 11 on 11s and 7 on 7s and blitz drills today. But one person who stood out more than others was Marcus Kemp, the veteran that we brought over pretty much to just strictly play special teams. We're going to talk about him again later on when we get to day 2 of mandatory mini camps, what happened Wednesday. But he had a great moment today, so keep that in mind. But then he had a bad moment today / yesterday, whatever you want to take it, day 2 of mandatory mini camps. Day 1, great day. Day 2, not so great. Looked like, oh yeah, we brought him here strictly as a special teamer. But, I mean, he had back-to-back catches to cap off the first series with the starters, out there with the starters, and made back-to-back catches. Day 1, again, we're going to talk about what he did day 2 that, you know, his stock went right back down. On one play, he left Emmanuel Forbes running in the other direction as he made the catch before heading out of bounds. So even as great as Emmanuel Forbes has looked against Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, yeah, Marcus Kemp was able to get one on him. So that's great to hear, man. Iron is sharpening iron, and I love to hear it. I also heard that Mitchell Tinsley laid out from a pass for Jake Fromm, and it was like one of the more impressive catches out of the entire off-season practices, voluntary OTAs, mandatory minicamps, one of the best catches that anybody has seen so far. That's really notable, man. That's big news. Then tight end wise, I'm hearing a lot of great things from tight end Logan Thomas right now. People are saying that he's flourishing. He's looking like his 2021 self. Again, I'm gonna keep saying it. Ron Rivera said that they were starting to see some 2021 Logan Thomas towards the end of 2022, the previous regular season. I didn't necessarily see it that way, and I thought the tight end was a bigger need than the Commanders are acting like it is. But apparently Logan Thomas is starting to look like his 2021 self from what I'm hearing from everybody right now. They're saying that he's out here getting open. He's making contested catches left and right. He's one of Sam Howell's favorite targets right now. It's like when in doubt, throw it up to Logan Thomas type of thing, and he's coming down with it more times than not right now, even with good coverage. Zach Selby said Logan Thomas continues to look impressive. He made a great sideline catch from Howell, who threaded the pass between multiple defenders. Eric Bieniemy said the offense will be a tight end friendly system, and Thomas is quickly becoming one of Howell's favorite targets. Again, emphasize that Sam Howell is your starting quarterback at the very least, it looks like, even though I'm hearing some great things from Jacoby Brissett. He's on his heels. And you're hoping that he's your franchise quarterback. Even when the Commanders were winning Super Bowls left and right, we won 3 within a 10-year period, less than that, and we won it with 3 different quarterbacks in that time. We're not really known for having franchise quarterbacks. If Sam Howell can be that guy, that would be fantastic. That would be one less thing we have to worry about in the most important position in the entire sport. So if Sam Howell ends up being our franchise guy, if at the very least our starting quarterback this season, and Logan Thomas is his favorite target, you got to take note of that. And tight ends are usually like a quarterback's best friend. It's usually the running game to help them out, to take pressure and to eliminate some of the coverage guys and making them come up in the box to stop the run. And then also a dependable tight end that catches everything. That's a dual threat that doesn't signal to the defense, oh, we're running or passing just simply because I'm on the field. If you're a dual threat and defenses don't know if we're running or passing it because the tight end can at the very least be a certain amount of good. I wouldn't even say great or excel, but just a certain level of good at doing both. That helps a quarterback immensely, man. So Logan Thomas balling out right now is a huge thing for us right now. I don't think people are understanding how big that is for us right now. Now, defensive line wise, first of all, we got to talk about the fact that Warren Sapp is back out there again, man. And that's huge news to me, man. I love it. Hall of Fame defensive tackle Warren Sapp was at practice today, as in Tuesday, well, day 1 and day 2, Tuesday and Wednesday. He'll probably be out there again Thursday, and maybe even there for some of our training camp. Shouts out to Warren Sapp. Just like last year, he was doing this. He said he didn't want to become like a full-time assistant coach, defensive line coach, or anything like that. We already have Ganina, who's like the official defensive lines coach. We have Ryan Kerrigan as our assistant defensive lines coach. I would love for Warren Sapp, I don't care what the title is. It could just say Hall of Famer on the website and on his contract and everything. I don't care. Just keep him around the defensive line. But either way, he said he doesn't want any full-time role, but he's willing to come over here year after year. Apparently, this is the 2nd year in a row where he's come over and just helped for no reason. I don't think he's getting paid or anything for this. So shouts out to Warren Sapp, man, a Hall of Famer. That's making a difference. I love the clips that I'm seeing that I'm uploading to YouTube. If you haven't seen it already, go check it out, where he's talking to people one-on-one, like he's talking to Jonathan Allen one-on-one, what he can improve on, and then congratulating him on what he's doing well. Same thing with Chase Young, same thing with Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, everybody. I love that. But yeah, man, Warren Sapp was at practice, provided some tips to Allen and his teammates throughout the day. Sapp was in Ashburn, Virginia last year to help instruct the defensive line, and it's never a bad thing to get some advice from one of the best defensive linemen in NFL history. I completely agree wholeheartedly. Moving on, Chase Young, man. I mean, I guess this is my first time actually physically talking about it out loud to y'all. Chase Young has returned to practice along with Montez Sweat and Charles Leno, of course, and he looks like his defensive rookie of the year self right now. I mean, he's looking really good out there from what I'm hearing, and even from some of the clips that I'm seeing, man, that guy looks like a different type of guy out there. I'm really happy to hear it. Rivera said that he wanted to see the defensive end, quote, pick up where he left off, unquote, and Young did exactly that. Although the next 3 days are technically the mini camp portion of the offseason, so there's not much of a difference as far as like contact and on the field activity compared to voluntary OTAs, but Young was a full participant today, looked disruptive and explosive. He looked crisp during individual drills, and he rushed the pass effectively during the blitz period of practice. Rivera said Young would, quote, absolutely, unquote, be in the starting lineup. And sure enough, he was out there with Sweat, Jonathan Allen, and Daron Payne balling out too. There's still plenty of work to be done between now and the regular season, but Young looks the part. That's all we can ask for at this point in the year when fully padded practices and the season are months away. We won't see them fully padded, full contact, all of that stuff for a while, but so far from what we're seeing as a sample size with just only helmets on and no real contact, Young is looking like that guy right now. And then Zach Selsby goes on to say much of what I've said is about Young can also be said about Montez Sweat. He didn't have an injury history like Young for people to ask questions about, but reporters were still curious to see how he would perform. To not much surprise, Sweat looked as productive as ever during the team drills. He and Payne executed stunts to perfection during blitz drills. On one play, that allowed Sweat to get free and would have possibly gotten a sack on Sam Howell if the drill was being played at full speed with full contact and everything like that. Love to hear it, man. The fact that we're just right back to where we left off. Being able to successfully do stunts against, I mean, granted, this isn't the most best chemistry offensive line out there doing it, and definitely not one of the most talented, but I mean, being able to successfully perform stunts is huge, especially this early in the offseason, because we've been complaining about us in the regular season still trying to figure out how to get our stunt chemistry together. There's a lot of chemistry behind that, and it sounds like Montez Sweat and the guys in the interior are able to just go right back like nothing happened. Him and Daron Payne picked that chemistry right back up like we were playing the regular season just a couple of weeks ago. Love to hear that, man. No, taking those steps back. But yeah, man, Chase Young was balling out, man. He was showing some great bend. He had some good reps against Charles Leno. Then there was another play where he flushed Sam Howell out of the pocket after making a nice move on Leno once again. And Sam Howell had to leave the pocket to make a play. I mean, Sam Howell can't even get comfortable back there because Chase Young and Montez Sweat are looking like how they're supposed to look. They both look hungry, and they both look like they know that they are fighting for the same contract potentially. But also the main thing with Chase Young, and this is something that everybody's talking about, Mark Bullock from the UK that does all of the great film breakdowns, John Com, a lot of people have talked about the fact that Chase Young does this ugly stutter step. We're not seeing that right now this offseason. This is the first time we don't see Chase Young really doing that. That's the thing that's been holding him back for a while now. He was doing it even during before he got hurt in the 2021 season, why he was having such a poor season even before he got hurt. And then he was doing it a lot last season towards the end of the season when he came back from his injury. And so that's one of the main things that's been holding him back, and hopefully he's past that, because he does this weird stutter step thing that after the ball is hiked, instead of using all of his freakish athleticism, speed, and strength and all of that, he does this thing where he's trying to like juke out the offensive lineman, the tackle that's trying to block him. Like he's trying to do like a little stutter instead of just straight ball get off, snap, gone, just run past him, run into him, run through him, run around, whatever. He wasn't doing that. He was just doing this weird like trying to outsmart him, trying to like, bruh, you not like this. That's not what you're supposed to do, Chase Young. I don't even know who taught him to do that, but I'm glad that he's finally getting out of it, and he looks way more disruptive because of it. But Ben Standig pointed out that Young played in his first padded practice on Tuesday and didn't participate much more than half the reps, if that. Now, he was a full participant technically, but Ben Standig is saying that he didn't even play in half the snaps. So, but that was just a healthy rotation of guys. Again, it's mandatory minicamps. We're not in training camp. We're not in preseason. We're definitely not in the regular season where the starters have to play 80-90% of the time. So that's expected. But at the same time, Ben Standig said that he did look spry, but I'm going to need more than one practice section before declaring them back, no matter what anyone tells me. And I respect that, man. We definitely need to have some cautious optimism when it comes to Sam Howell, the starting quarterback, Chase Young coming back from his injury and not doing that stutter step anymore. A lot of aspects of this team, this offensive line, this secondary, we do need to hold cautious optimism. I think we have plenty of reasons to be very optimistic about everything that I just listed off, but we do need to be a little cautious of it, and we got to see it in the regular season. Can't wait to see what it looks like when we go against the Ravens Ravens in those joint practices before we played them in the preseason. I can't wait for that, man. I'm super excited. But again, stay cautiously optimistic. Chase Young has put together 2 straight days of great practice. Again, we're going to talk about it when we talk about day 2 as well. But so far as of day 1, for what we're discussing right now, he looked great. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and let you know now, when we get to day 2, he looked great that day as well. As in today / yesterday, Wednesday, whatever you want to call it. Also, Mitchell Tisler pointed out the fact that, I mean, not all knee injuries are the same, but Chase Young injured in 2021 with a pretty substantial knee brace on. For Darian Mathis, who was injured in September of 2022, doesn't have anything on his leg. So that's really interesting. There must be a reason for that, but Chase Young looks great out there, so I'm not going to really question it too much. Also, John Comm had a really interesting story in his podcast. He said that Jonathan Allen was not playing about the offense, not playing with them at all, sometime last week during voluntary OTAs. At a certain point in practice last week, the offense was doing a little too much celebrating, and Jonathan Allen wasn't having any of it, and told them straight up that the only reason that they're going crazy was because there isn't a real pass rush. There's no full contact. They're not allowed to go as hard as they want to, and some of the plays where they had successful offensive plays probably would have been sacks and like actual real game moments. So basically, if this was real football, real full contact football, none of this would have been going down. That's basically what he was saying. And John Comm said that he said it very loudly and that nobody stepped up to question him. So I just also wanted to make sure I included that tidbit in there. That came from the John Comm podcast directly. So if you haven't listened to his podcast, make sure you go listen to John Comm, because he provides a lot of great insight like that. Also, shouts out to my boy Linnell again, because like we spoke about earlier, Khaleke Hudson had an interception on Sam Howell. So that's really the only thing we could talk about with linebackers. Nothing really notable I'm hearing from Cody Barton. Again, Jamin Davis is still recovering from an injury. He's still on schedule. There's no setbacks or anything, but it's just taking some time. He should be a full participant, full go 100% by the time we get to training camp, which again is a while from now, man. Whoo-wee, man. I'm sad to hear it too. After we have this last voluntary OTAs practice on June 13th, it's nothing till training camp, which is crazy, but that'll give me a lot of time to work on film sessions and a lot of creative video ideas that I have, where I'm projecting our different offensive line combinations, defensive line into secondary, all kinds of combinations. If we want to run 4 defensive linemen with 2 linebackers and 5 DBs, if we want to run 5 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker and 5 DBs, all of that type of stuff. Who is more likely going to start at what positions? It's like a visual representation of where everybody is, all that type of stuff. All of that's been in the work for a while now, but when we keep having news coming out and practices, all of that stuff just keeps getting pushed back, and I'm trying to work on these rookie film sessions. So I'm sorry to basically have like a random intermission in the middle of the video, but just to give you an idea of all of the content that's going to be flooding out. I know the Commanders are going to have a dead period, but Street Scores isn't. We're still coming out with content every day. But also moving on to the secondary, I was hearing great things that the defense forced the QBs to hold onto the ball a lot during 11-on-11s. That's why Sam Howell was struggling a little bit. And a lot of people are saying that the secondary is starting to look like a potential strength for this team. Like I said, right now it's receiver and defensive line, the argument for the best position groups on this team. Don't sleep on secondary as a dark horse. I've been saying that ever since we drafted Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin. Benjamin St. Juste is healthy. Cameron Curl is only getting better. Derek Forrest is only getting better. I'm hearing great things from Percy Butler as well as part of the rotation and everything. It's about to get real wicked for a lot of these offenses out there on our schedule. I'm really excited. Also, Quan Martin had a play both Tuesday, day 1 of mandatory minicamps, and day 2 of mandatory minicamps. We'll get to that later. But as in Tuesday, day 1 of minicamps, he got his hand on the ball on a pass where Sam Howell was trying to take a deep shot to Kyrick McGowan, made a great play on it, batted it, and then Christian Holmes was able to make a crazy acrobatic interception. So that's great news from Christian Holmes. But again, who's the one that allowed that play to happen? Who's the one that made the play to bat the ball in the air? It was Quan Martin once again. I think that's like the second or third interception so far in this early offseason that Quan Martin has caused an interception with him hitting the ball. Cody Barton was the recipient of one. Christian Holmes got one, and I believe somebody else got another one. Quan Martin is out there making plays right now, dog. Also, I'm hearing that Forbes did a great job against Jahan and the other top receivers on Tuesday as well. So just to go ahead and throw that out there. And then moving on to day 2, starting with Eric Bieniemy again. And Zach Selby had a lot to say about him, but it's most notable because a lot of the players had great things to say about him. Zach Selby said it's clear by now that Eric Bieniemy has a high standard for his players, and he gives them constant reminders that they must perform up to his expectations if they hope to get onto the field. He doesn't care if you were a starter last year or not. You better go out there and look like one. You better earn it. And I love that, man. It doesn't matter if you're Jahan Dotson or Terry McLaurin. You better go out there and practice as if your life depends on it, as if your starting spot depends on it. He's not accepting anything less from anybody. It doesn't matter what you've accomplished in the past. What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me now? I just got here. So I don't care about what you did last year. I mean, it's great and all, but what have you done so far? And I love the fact that everybody's basically starting on an even, clean slate. Quarterback, wide receiver, every position group, especially on the offense. Love that. The latest admonishment was directed not at one player, but the entire starting unit at one point. He barked at the group to get off the field after a botched play, which ended with a fumbled snap during team drills. That's been Bieniemy's method of operation this offseason. If a player doesn't execute the way that he wants, someone else will come in and take his place. His players love this style. Jahan Dotson said, quote, "It's awesome to have someone who holds you to such a high standard. He only wants success out of you. That's all he wants to see. He wants to see you succeed at all times," unquote. Bieniemy has given Dotson multiple coaching points this offseason. He reminded the receivers to, quote, "not fall asleep," unquote, on a certain play during the installation period of practice because the ball could end up going his way. Last week, Bieniemy chastised Dotson for dropping a pass, a heavily contested pass too. Let me keep emphasizing that. It was a very contested pass that not a lot of receivers would be expected to make, but we just have high expectations here, especially for a guy like Jahan Dotson. And then Jahan Dotson responded by making every catch for the remainder of practice. That's the Bieniemy effect already, that he's already having in early June. It's only going to be up from here, so I'm really excited. The margin of error is small with Bieniemy as a coordinator, but that's only because he wants to push his players to achieve more. Dotson said, "I ran into him yesterday after meetings, and he said, 'You have so much potential, and I'm going to make sure I get it out of you.' That's what you want in someone," unquote. Washington's offense will need to improve if it hopes to compete for the postseason in 2023. The team was 20th in yards, 24th in points, and 21st in passing yards last year. In order to do that, the players must adhere to Bieniemy's styles and standards, and they have no problem with that. Charles Leno said, quote, "He's holding us accountable. That's the #1 thing you want as a player. We want to be great," unquote. I love it. We want the tough coaching. So not only do I love the fact that Eric Bieniemy is giving them the tough coaching, but I'm also really excited about the fact that the players are not only loving it, but they're responding well to it and getting better. You're seeing a difference from them one day going into the next day. There's improvement. Like visual improvement, obvious improvement, productive improvement. Not just, I think he's better. No, it's like, again, Jahan Dotson dropped the pass, didn't drop one for the rest of the day. That's big time, man. I'm telling y'all, that's huge. Also, Linnell said that one thing that has stood out under Eric Bieniemy, the drills that are being run seem so much more purposeful, no wasted time or movements. Yesterday, we saw them work RPO, simulating the run and pass in one rep. So defenses are not going to know what's going to hit them. Linnell also said Eric Bieniemy was not happy with the first team offense after poor execution on the screen versus no defense. No defense on the field. They're just supposed to go out there and simulate it and go 100% even with no defense in front of them, which could be a little difficult. I can see why you may get a little lazy, a little lackadaisical. Eric Bieniemy got right on them. He said, quote, "Get me a new group. You can't catch a screen upfield. Get back in the D-word huddle and run it again," unquote. He doesn't play. If the starting offense is looking stupid and sloppy, we're going to bring on the second unit because clearly they want it more. And if they ball out, maybe they're the next first unit. So, hey, man, I'm loving everything that I'm hearing from Eric Bieniemy. Linnell also said one thing about Bieniemy. Yes, he's loud, but his attention to detail will pay dividends during the regular season. Several times today, he made the offense run a play over and over again, but not after correcting the guys first. So he tells them what they did wrong. They run it immediately again. It's not like, "Oh, I told you what you do wrong, and we're just gonna, we'll just move on to something else. I'm pretty sure you got it." No, he tells them what they did wrong, and they run that exact thing back immediately so they can make sure that they can physically go through the motions, muscle memory, all of that type of stuff, and give him like a visual representation of actual improvement. He tells them what they need to fix, and then they fix it and actually do it again before they move on. And I love that. I don't know why all coaches don't do that. Why would you allow a player to make a mistake? You tell them what they did wrong, and then you move on to something completely different. I never understood that. Love the tough love that we're seeing right here. Moving on to quarterback, Sam Howell, coming from Linnell as well. He said he looked sharp during first 11 on 11 works today. 0 incompletions. Not a single throw down the field, though, probably by design. They seem to be drilling quick game and screen game heavy, as in Wednesday, day 2 of mandatory minicamp. Linnell also said, not a good ending to the 11-on-11 period, though, for the first team offense. Sam Howell drops the shotgun snap, and Eric Bieniemy lets him hear it about it. Quote, everybody off. Give me the twos. We gonna do it right, unquote. So like I said earlier, man, the first team is messing up. This time it was Sam Howell's fault. Everybody go. Sometimes it may just be whoever's fault it was. Maybe like Sam Howell gets benched and they bring Jacoby Brissett to go out there with the starters. But either way, he was just so irritated and done, and Sam Howell fumbled a snap. And I know it's still really early in the process, but he has high expectations. And he was like, scrap it all. If y'all don't want to do anything right, we're going to bring in a second unit. There are new starters now. So I'm pretty sure I believe that the starting team defense remained on the field, and they brought out the second team offense because he was just done with the first team. He's like, y'all need to learn. Y'all need to learn quickly as well. Now moving on to running back, Brian Robinson had a great catch today, man. He had one of the better plays of the day. He made a one-handed grab from Sam Howell on the screen and then navigated through defenders, earning some positive words from Bieniemy. So there will be some positive reinforcement. If you do something correctly, he's going to let you know that as well. It's not only negative, negative, negative. He's giving you both. He's giving you the exact critiques that you need. Harsh criticism when you're wrong, and constructive criticism in the middle as well. Like, this is what you need to do to fix it. And then also when you do something right, he's going to praise you just as loud as he gets on your head for making a mistake. I love that. You're getting everything that you need from Eric Bieniemy as an offensive coordinator. Thank you, Ron Rivera, for just completely moving out the way and delegating everything towards Eric Bieniemy and letting them handle everything, staying out the way, not micromanaging. Thank you. But hey, if you wanted to see the Brian Robinson one-handed grab, here you go right here. I'm not gonna lie, that was filthy, man. That boy Brian Robinson, I mean, a lot of people said maybe his only weakness is catching. He's out here making one-handed grabs. RIP to opposing defenses, man. I don't know how they're gonna be able to catch up and guard us, cover us, stop us, or anything like that when our power running back, our Marshawn Lynch type of guys out here making one-handed catches on screens. Come on now. I don't know what to tell other defenses. Now moving on, receiver wise, I'm hearing a lot of great things from Dax Milne. Zach Selby said Dax Milne is starting to make a habit of making unlikely catches. Troy Apke couldn't hold on to what should have been an interception, causing the ball to fly into the air. Milne was in the right spot as he plummeted back to the ground, securing what ended up being a decent gain. Troy Apke doesn't like nice things. If Chris Harris was here, he would have been shouting that all up and down the field and yelling at Troy Apke for it. When you drop an interception that should have been yours, I mean, it was just right there in your chest and you drop it. And then on top of that, the receiver goes and makes an acrobatic catch right before the ball hits the ground. It's like, come on, dog. I mean, we don't expect Troy Apke to contribute anything on defense anyway. And now we have so many special teamers. I don't even think Troy Apke is going to make the 53-man roster even as a special teamer. He may not even make it to the practice squad at this point. But so this is not like Dax Milne is balling out against like Emmanuel Forbes, Quan Martin, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, Cameron Curl, and all those guys, but it's still a great catch. Got to give him his credit for that. And then moving on to the tight ends, along with Brian Robinson and Dax Milne, Logan Thomas had one of the better plays of the day as well, one of the better catches. Thomas fought through contact with Benjamin St. Juste to come down with a pass from Howell through great coverage with Benjamin St. Juste. And that's what Benjamin St. Juste is an expert at. That's like his specialty, locking up bigger receiving targets. Like, I mean, he did a great job against Justin Jefferson, a great job against A.J. Brown, and Logan Thomas is out here balling against them. It sounds like iron sharpens iron. Again, my worry is when the offense is making great plays, does that mean the offense is that great, or does that mean the defense is just that bad? Same thing, vice versa, the other way around. But I'm hearing great things from the secondary, and I'm hearing great things from Logan Thomas basically no matter who's covering them. So it sounds like iron is sharpening iron right now, and I love it. Offensive line wise, again, like I foreshadowed earlier, Sadiq Charles showed his athleticism in the screen game again and basically escorted Antonio Gibson into the touchdown. It was like literally his personal security guard, and he was able to basically just walk in there at that point. So great play design by Eric Bieniemy, great execution from everybody, most notably Sadiq Charles on the play. Sadiq Charles is not trying to let go of that starting left guard spot. I'm telling y'all, man, he is not playing with y'all, man. He said he not going. He ain't going for none. But today, Montez Sweat was more of an emphasis from everybody that basically went to the practice and reported on it. Chase Young still had a great day, but a lot of people were focusing on Chase Young so much that they wanted to kind of focus on Montez Sweat a little bit more today, and Montez Sweat did not disappoint. He was putting pressure on Sam Howell during blitz and team periods today. It didn't matter what time of the day, didn't matter what play, what concepts, Montez Sweat was in the backfield. On the second play of the series, Sweat chased Howell as he scrambled to his left before hitting Logan Thomas for a completion. I mean, it's just like, what can you do there? I mean, great pressure by Sweat. We'll see how it translates when we get to regular season games. Later on in practice, Howell avoided a leaping Sweat to dump a pass off to Antonio Gibson, earning some praise from Sweat too. Sweat was like, hey man, good play. That man Sam Howell is showing his athleticism there. Not a lot of quarterbacks can do that. But then Sweat finally got the Howell on the second to last play of the day for the starters. He swatted Howell's pass back right at him, and the defensive end made sure to let Howell know about it. Congratulated him when he made a great play against him, but then when he got his revenge, he let him know. He let him hear it just as equally as loud, and I love that. I'm also hearing that F.A. Obata looked good today, batting down the pass against Jacoby Brissett. I heard that Andre Jones, our 7th round pick, our final pick of the draft, was able to tip a pass from Brissett as well. It ended up still being caught by Jonathan Williams, but Andre Jones actually flashed a little bit today. I haven't been hearing his name at any point in the offseason so far, but it sounds like he finally made a play today. Also, Zach Selby said there was some splashes from the depth at defensive end today, even outside of, you know, recently drafted guys. Like William Bradley King used his speed to get around Trent Scott during blitz drills and put pressure on Brissett before the quarterback was allowed to complete a pass to Jalen Sample. And of course, again, this is not full speed, this is not full contact, so who knows if these would have been better pressures like QB hits or actual sacks before these guys are able to complete the pass. But who knows, maybe these quarterbacks are just making freakishly athletic plays. And then also Chase Young looked good in his first practice with the team, and then continued that on Wednesday, as in today/yesterday, day 2 of mandatory minicamps. He looked good on day 1, which was Tuesday, good again on day 2, as in Wednesday, like I already said. During team drills, Young got past Cornelius Lucas, so it doesn't matter if it's Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas, anybody can get it, and appeared to tap Brissett on the shoulder to signify that it would have been a sack on the play. So again, they're not allowed to hit guys, but he went ahead and tapped them. Like, if this was a real game, you would have been killed right there, my boy. That would have been it for you, my dog. And then also one note from the linebackers. Khaleke Hudson had great coverage against B-Rob on an option route and was able to get an interception. So, hey, man, Khaleke Hudson is stepping up and is flashing the most out of all of the healthy linebackers right now. Against Jamin Davis, still working his way back health-wise. But out of Khaleke Hudson, Cody Barton, and all these other guys, Khaleke Hudson is the one that continues to flash, and is, I believe that's like his 2nd interception, maybe even more so far. So, hey, man, shouts out to Khaleke Hudson. And then DBs, before we get up out of here, another interception came from Jeremy Reeves. Howell tried to give the ball to Mitchell Tinsley, and although there were 3 defensive backs around the receiver, the ball was overthrown. So bad decision and bad ball by Sam Howell, and Reeves was able to pluck it out of the air before running out of bounds. So great play by Jeremy Reeves. We literally have him here strictly for special teams, but the fact that he's making plays on defense makes him even more irreplaceable than he already was. So that's great to hear. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, another great Quan Martin play. He covered so much ground on a deep shot from a Jake Fromm, and I mean, it showed his range. Like, he went from one side of the field all the way to the other, basically. And it's not only instincts, it doesn't just take explosion and speed to be a great rangy free safety. It also takes a lot of mental stuff, IQ, awareness, film study, knowing, okay, if he's doing this, if the offense is doing this, if the quarterback is showing this type of body language, if the receivers are running these combinations of routes, I need to be over here within this certain amount of time. And he's showing that already. 2nd round pick, you do expect greatness out of him. You expect him to be, if not a starter, at least a strong contributor in the secondary, a consistent guy that's on the field a lot of the time, at the very least 60%, 50% of the snaps. But it sounds like he's already ahead of schedule. It sounds like a lot of guys we brought in this offseason, whether it be through free agency or the draft, are ahead of schedule, and including Sam Howell as well. So that's great to hear. Sounds like this team is definitely improving. Again, it sounds like more of like a iron sharpening iron this offseason, rather than other off seasons where, again, you can't tell if the offense is that bad or the defense is that good, or the offense is that good and the defense is that bad. And then we get to the regular season, you clearly see it was neither. They were just both bad to an extent, but the defense was more so the good unit. And now it's looking like everybody is stepping up big time and making plays plays back and forth. I love to hear that. Some days the offense looks better, some days the defense looks better, and that's how it's supposed to go. If one side of the ball is consistently looking better than the other, we have a problem. I love the fact that, again, iron is sharpening iron. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Let me know how you feel about the new camera. When I get to editing this video, I'm actually going to see how good it looks. It looks good right now while I'm recording, but I'm going to see it for the first time, like, after this moment right now. So y'all are technically watching it in real time while you're watching this on YouTube after I've seen it in real life, technically, kind of like I haven't seen it yet. I just been recording. But yeah, man, I'm basically talking in circles. I really appreciate the support, man. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Let me know how you feel about the camera, if it was worth it, if it was worth the improvement and the upgrade. And of course, get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, all of the topics: coaching, running back, quarterback, offensive line, defense, linebacker, secondary, all of that type of stuff. Receivers, tight ends, Logan Thomas most notably, Sam Howell, everything, man, the draft picks, all of that. So appreciate the support again. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, name you see scrolling on the screen right now. And I'm gonna catch y'all, I guess, tomorrow, as in Thursday / today, as in Thursday, the last day of mandatory mini camps. Again, last day of mandatory mini camps is June 8th, which again is Thursday. That's day 3 of mandatory mini camps. Then they go on break for 4 days, and then they come back June 13th for the last voluntary OTA practice, which is gonna be interesting because, like, are Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and Charles Leno skipping that as well? They weren't there for any previous OTA mini camp, voluntary OTAs, and then they were there for mandatory mini camps because it was mandatory. So now that the last practice, June 13th, before training camp deep into July comes back, are they not gonna show up for that, or are they like, okay, we're here now, we're gonna continue to practice with everything? They probably won't be there, but we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm gonna catch y'all later. I know I'm talking in circles, wasting y'all time. Catch y'all later. I'm out.